O'Neill is a multidisciplinary practitioner, also the best looking guy ever. As an artist, he is known for his documentary films, Sun Beyond Lee, 2003, and Meshi Street, 2006. As a curator, he curated Get It Louder, 2005, 2007, 2010, 2009 Shenzhen and Hong Kong Bi-City Biennale in Urbanism and Architecture. As a writer and editor, he published Odyssey, Architecture and Literature, 2009, The South of Southern Space Geography, History in the Biennale, 2014, and his literary journal, Chutzpah, that's Chutzpah, 2011 to 2013. As an activist, he lived in a small village and founded the Bishan Commune, 2011 to 2016, and a school of tillers, 2015 to 2016, to join the new rural reconstruction movement in China. He was a jury member of the 8th Venice Prize, the 53rd Venice Art Biennale in 2009, a member of Asian Art Council at the Guggenheim Museum in 2011, the founding curator of Kuan-Yin Project 2015-18, and taught at the Graduate School of Architecture, Planning, and Preservation at Columbia 2016-17. And Alex Chen is the director of Urban Research Institute of China Vanke Co. and the founder of Vanke Design Commune. In 2015, he published the Yantai Mountain Urban Design Plan on the internet and started the Vanke Glamour Revival Project, which attracted many planners and architects who are interested in urban regeneration to take part in the project. In the next few years, he participated in the planning and design of the area with other designers. He also launched the Wakun project in urban villages in Shenzhen, which is a replicable mode of urban regeneration. So, without further ado, James is going to on your
Hello, everyone. I'm here to talk about sort of really one of our projects, but it's ended up being many projects. It's our plug-in house projects. And this was the result of being a participant in the Dashalar Regeneration project that Neil had just presented. And again, just a little bit of context. Above there, you see the Forbidden City. This is Tiananmen Square, and Dashalar is just right there. Our office is the red dot, right in the center of Dashalar, and most of the projects I'm going to show you are in that area. Dashalar, we already have a little bit of background, which is fantastic. But this area has a long history of sort of disinvestment, and really the conditions are sort of close to slum-like. So they're what we dealt with is mostly with the residential area. So this was the Yangmeidu commercial street, and we specifically wanted to concentrate on another part of the project, and the residences there, they don't have any sewage. There are only public toilets. The buildings lack insulation, and a lot of them are falling apart. So the conditions are poor, and there's a lot of also informal building. So part of the agency that you would find is also in terms of people improving their environments on their own. And the result of that is a lot of vacant spaces. Now, this presents a very difficult problem because you can't. It's very difficult to renovate these spaces because they are subdivisions of a larger structure. So you have people living with each other, and in between you have an empty space, and you all share the same roof and such. So we were interested. This was a fantastic opportunity for us to really look into how you can propose a different approach to not urban renewal, but urban regeneration. And that we wanted to not tear down anything, not relocate anyone, actually, we didn't do anything to the original buildings, and we built a house inside the original house. So you can see in the before and after images, the final result is you literally have a building inside the original building. More before and after images, and so in order to do this, we developed a panel system that was prefabricated and manufactured in a factory actually in the south of China, in Guangzhou. And this is not a material that is typically used. So we worked very closely with the factory and developed this product. And it's a panelized system. It's a sandwich panel that is injection molded. And so what happens is it all comes out in one piece with insulation, all the interior, exterior surfaces, wiring, and the joints for all the panels all integrated. And these are pre-assembled at the factory just to make sure it's okay, and then we ship them flat packed to the locations. And so these panels are light enough to be moved through these little alleyways, through doorways. You saw that there was the lock that I was talking about that's integrated into these panels. And so you actually only need one tool to put these together. So the point is that you can do this with low-skilled labor. So low-skilled that my partner and I can put this together. And we really want to be architects that use our hands. And the key is that you could do this very quickly. So we could renovate a house in one day. And renovating means that these plugins, the installation quality is extremely high because these are very it's a newer technology that where you can achieve very high quality production. And so they're highly insulated. Also, you have much larger windows for natural ventilation. The wiring is integrated into the panels, so that goes much faster. And also with the toilets, we integrated septic systems and also composting toilets, so that you can have really a modern standard of living. So what we did was not something that was meant for just one building, but the key was that we could use this really as a system, an approach that we could use to renovate as many properties as we could. So it really was developing this product that was used as a system. And these are different examples of our plugins. Now there is a really interesting juxtaposition, obviously, between the new and the old. And what was really interesting for us was that you could see all these layers of history that is not nostalgic in the sense that you're preserving some particular period, which is always problematic, but it's everything, including the stuff that was built last week that was informal and out of corrugated metal and whatnot. This image, you can see a little bit of what we try to do with these spaces, even though they're small. We've added a mezzanine level. You can see a bit of the stairs up there. So we're also trying to expand the area that you can use in these spaces. But all in all, we did over close to 24 of these spaces around this area in different locations. And these are all the plans of the plug-in houses. So you can see that every single one is different, and we could do that because these panels were flexible in that sense. The modules were more or less the same, but we have a few that were custom. But we were able to still manufacture the customized ones efficiently because we had a molding process where the molds can be adjustable. Through this process, we also did a lot of research and collected data on the existing stock that we had. So all the red dots are the vacant lots, and we took all that information, overlaid them, and we tried to see if we could find sort of clumps of dimensions that we could match more easily with what we had. So that you're reducing the amount of customization. And also looking at what kind of uses and different organizations of space that would fit these clumps or groupings. And not only that, the vacant lots are part of one larger building. And here you can see that would be represented in the white. They are in different positions in the courtyard house. So some are very deep in, some are closer to the street, and so that would also imply certain uses that are more appropriate than others in these different situations. So we laid all that out and created guidelines to help guide the sort of the planning of what would happen with the stock. And so we did have kind of it's sort of a master plan in a sense of what you already had at hand, and just to figure out what would be the appropriate program in these different locations. So, for example, we had some that are small studio office spaces. Obviously, that would be more public and closer to the street. Anything that was sort of deeper in should be used for residential use, for example. And on the Dashalar platform, we also launched a web page that would allow residents to see if this would be helpful for them, see how much it would cost, how much energy it would save. They could space plan a bit within their spaces. The spaces are very small, so it also made it easier to do something like this. So that was interesting. And I mentioned before that our office is also in Dashalar. Through this process, we decided that we wanted to be as close as possible to the people that we were serving. So decided to move our office to Dashalar. We were already in a Hutong neighborhood, so this was always sort of this environment was the type of environment that we had always worked within. But we were very happy to be able to come into Dashalar. And so this is to give you a sense of our office and some of the Hutong streets around us. This is really a typical day on one of these alleyways. Entering in our space, we have a couple of courtyards, and you can kind of see the relationship between the inside and outside. We did some cool stuff with the doors, which we could do with our material. It's very light. And we would also use our space as a community space to have activities and events to invite people to come and understand what the heck is going on in our office, and also to invite other people from outside the neighborhood to come and get to know us better. And this was really important for us to build up a relationship with our neighbors. We'd have events and things like that, kids running around, some people on the roofs. So one really important phase of this project was being able to provide locals with the plug-in house. So there was a question about cost. The first plug-in houses were done as government-funded projects, and these were existing vacant lots. But we really had our sights on houses that people were already living in. So Mrs. Dong decided that she would be interested in trying this out, mostly because we renovated one right next to her. And at first she was like, "This is crazy. What's going on? I don't want this. Just tear my house down and rebuild a new one." And even though this was how her house was before. So it's a very small space, very cramped, no toilet, very cold. So one winter, the winter after we built the one that was next to her, she went inside and she was like, "Wow, there's only one heater on. Usually they have several space heaters." And she was asking, "Well, how long has this been on?" We said, "Well, it's only during the nighttime where it's less expensive, it's subsidized. Whereas her heater is going on the whole night. Her house is still very cold, and it's a simple thing. The houses are not, they're not sealed. They're really leaky. The insulation is mud from who knows when. So that was the thing that really convinced her. So this is her house as it is now. So after that we continued to do more and more of these. At this point, the Dashalar project sort of kind of lost steam. We started getting we started pushing up against, in order to really enlarge this project, there would be some serious policy changes that was needed. So it was kind of stalled. But at the same time, we still got a lot of interest from residents. So we just started doing this directly with residents. And so this was a great test for us to see if this was really affordable or even something that they wanted. Eventually we started doing ones that were outside of the houses. So no longer was it a house-in-house situation, because that's actually what a lot of people needed. This is Dong here talking about her plug-in house.
我从小在这个院子长大的，从小学1年级开始吧，一直到高中，一直生活在这个大杂院里，对这个院子有很多特别美好的回忆。高2的时候吧，我父母在辅石路那边又买了一套楼房，我不太喜欢住楼房。首先那一道门就感觉把你们两家都给隔阂出来了，但是那个平房吧就不一样，那么窄的胡同，每天大家都是抬头不见低头见的。点一下头，哈个腰，微笑一下，很小的动作，大家就心领神会。妈妈不太想让我再回这边来住，他们觉得你俩都成家了，也应该自己买一套房子。但是我是觉得，我有这么一套房子是我自己的，我完完全全可以重新打造一下，变成一个我自己喜欢的小窝子。周围的邻居过来参观，盖的过程中大家就可能会比较好奇吧，因为之前都是那种砌砖式的。像这个是那种硬壳板，它是一个整体搭建过来的。盖完了以后，他们会觉得你这小房子弄得挺新颖的，很不错。不过实际成这样，没有人不愿意回来了。我跟我母亲多少都会有叫什么密闭忧郁症啊，就是我们不能在一个特别封闭的空间里待着。之前的房子非常的暗，那个时候进到这个屋子，几乎分不清楚白天还是晚上，没有采光。现在就是完全不一样，敞亮度、明亮度各个方面就会觉得很舒服。我很喜欢阳光普照在身上的那种感觉，就会很温暖。我觉得堆放马桶呢，既解决了让自己在屋里可以方便，又不会破坏环境，所以我觉得国外做的非常好，应该再做一些推广。空间有限了，有一个小的露台，夏天你可以晒晒被子，可以布置成一小花园，就是蓝天，环境又好又惬意。现在写字楼啊都是在城里嘛，买一套房子不是说挺贵，真的很贵。改造这个平房，总的来说是比买房子要压力小很多很多。之前每天工作往返要4个小时，但是现在往返的路程就1个小时，这样我每天可以节省很多时间，不用花在路上。我可能比人早走一步，更快的接受一下这种新鲜的事物。但是我觉得，就是因为会有人首先接受新事物，大家应该都会更向往这种生活，也希望自己的居住条件变得更好。
So just some interior shots of her house. The shape, I'll explain it just a little bit. It's a negotiation between the neighbors. We basically maximized her volume, but had to preserve what the neighbors asked for. Don't block my light, don't block my air, and that's kind of what carved out that volume. Now, we also took this strategy to also other locations, to urban villages in Shenzhen in particular. So this is one of these villages. Very similar situation. A lot of these vacant lots, except these lots are even more, are even worse off. Oftentimes, so you see sort of a before and after situation. It's kind of interesting that the government here, they actually, they're forced to take over a property if the roof has collapsed. A lot of these people, they just vacated and you just don't even know what the ownership is. And so these just kind of sit there. So we had an opportunity to renovate these, but the requirement was that we don't do anything to the original structure. These are some other ones. This one doesn't even have walls around it. It doesn't even have a roof. Just some walls. I really like that relationship, that neighborhood there. But yeah, these are typical urban village situations. This is another urban village. So this was kind of neat because we were able to build on top of an existing balcony area. So actually, urban villages, they're always doing this. They're always adding spaces. It's just that they're considered safe. So we did it in a proper way, and it was okay. So everyone was happy. But these spaces are really important because urban villages provide migrant workers with low-cost housing in very convenient locations. And also we've done some in rural areas. We've tried to experiment with all kinds of different locations to do this. This is Mr. Wong that asked us to do this. Really quickly, I also want to show you what I've been doing recently in terms of urban regeneration, but related to the U.S. So we took that model and we found that land use in China is actually extremely complicated. It's very difficult for us to scale with what we're doing. And in the U.S., you have this situation where there's a big housing crisis, and the government is now pushing residents, trying to promote this idea of building houses in your backyard. They're called accessory dwelling units. And quite a few cities have started making this by right. The whole state of California has made this by right, meaning anyone who has a backyard that fits this situation can build a house. Certainly, cities like San Francisco have a very serious problem with this, but actually there's still a lot of land that you can build on. So here, the city of Boston was very interested in pushing this. Here, it's not by right yet, but they're interested in this idea. So I worked closely with the Mayor's Housing Innovation Lab here, which is kind of a platform that is meant for people to sort of experiment with ideas. Exactly a year ago, built one of these in Harvard Yard, and demonstrated how low-skilled labor can do this. So this is all built by students from all over, including the GSD. And then we had all kinds of events. This was part of the Harvard's Arts First Festival, and this was to activate this location, to engage people with issues around housing and art and culture. And so that was pretty cool. The weather was great. And then after that, I also showed how easy it was to take it down and then move it to another location and rebuild it again. So that was to think of a house as something that could be flexible in that sense was also really important. That it's not a house that you have to build; it has to last forever, and if you tear it down, it's wasted. So this is in Boston City Hall. Again, there were a lot of people involved. This is Artists for Humanity, a nonprofit here, and they use the arts to engage the youth, and they drew out the furniture and things like that on the interior to help people visualize how this could be set up. And the city organized all kinds of events and collected input from residents on what they felt about some of these ideas, these housing ideas, and had roundtable discussions with not only residents but also policymakers. So it was really interesting to see how this process works in the States and in China, but also how receptive people were to actually very similar approaches, basically infill, higher density, and also building on your own. So that's my presentation. Thanks.
I have to say I still have very heavy jet lag. I hope my English is smooth, my expression is clear, but if I could not make it, I apologize. For the first, I would like to introduce my background. As an artist, curator, and writer at the beginning, I became interested in urbanism after I read the Israeli Flower book published by Len Koolhaas and GSD students. And in 2002, I was attracted by the urban village in Guangdong, and also I was attracted by the slum in Beijing that was touched by this. So I was attracted by the social ecologies and the grassroots people, how they build their buildings in urban villages. Then I think I make the first documentary film about urban village in China to introduce San Yuan, very famous. And then in 2005, before the Beijing Olympic Game, I spent 1 year to interview a lot of people in Dachau. At that time, the Australian government it demolished a lot of houses and trying to get the law wider for the Olympic game. Finally, they found, at the very beginning they want to clean the land for a Sichuan base. After years, the Australian government found a new development where Beijing and New York. So when I did this two documentary film projects, I got interesting. I found a lot of urban problems in China actually have very strong connection with the rural development. That is why I transferred my interest into the countryside and started the defense projects. So I learned a lot from urban village, slum, and the countryside. And in 2016, I had this project, which I'm going to share today with you. The title of my presentation is Topophilia and Placemaking. So, what is topophilia? In his very famous book, the geographer Yi Fuduan said, topophilia is the affective bond between people and place or setting. That means if you have very strong emotion with a place, you like the local food, you speak local language, and you have you like this place as your home, so you have a feeling. What is place making? Frank Kang is the founder of the Project for Public Space in New York. He's an alumni of Columbia. He said, placemaking is about turning a neighborhood, town, a city from a place you can't wait to get through into one you never want to live. So, what kind of a connection between topophilia and placemaking? For my opinion, I think topophilia is the kind of driven force for placemaking. And when you make a better place, and you will get your topophilia deeper. So I use these two terms to describe my projects, the Guangdong projects. So it's a kind of historical conservation and city regeneration projects. We're trying to make a place in these projects. As a place, it should have a location. So it's located in the Shandong province, in the Yantai city. You can see the location is in between Beijing and Shanghai. And and the Guangren area actually is a seashore area. So in this city, people speak a dialect. It originally comes from a fishing village, and that is why when we try to name this project, we try to use a lot of local knowledge from this area. And as a place, it should be have a history, right? It should be have a lot of public memory that straight the place. Then we did a lot of research to try and find the local history. Actually, Yantai is a treaty port with Britain since 1860 to 61. It become like a colonial because there's a lot of foreigner businessmen. They open company there, and they also the China inland missionary found this very famous chief school since 1880, and one of the most alumni of chief school was Henry Lucy. He was the founder of Time magazine and Life magazine. Okay, actually we found a lot of the history of Yantai. But in my essays to talk about the project, I would like to talk about Henry Lucy. We also found a lot of historical story about the ordinary people. But I think when we talk about a place today, actually we are not only talking about history. We not mean we should go back to the past. We are not going to portray some heritage. But I think for this contemporary projects, we should try to create a so-called global sense of a place. That is a term by Doreen Mason. Because in a global world, time and space was compressed, and people move very often. There's a lot of immigrant people, just like Yantai. A century ago, there's so many different people from different countries. They live there. They live in the city. So it's quite a open society. It's not only include the local Shandong people, but at the same time, a lot of international people. So a new place we are going to create should be international society or let's say the global sense of the place. We try to create this kind of sense. And actually this area was owned by the government, but it was a private company who ran it for 20 years. When the company commissioned me to do this project, it already there was only 12 years left. So they don't have too much time, and they did not have very strong relationship with the local government. So they asked me to work with them and to make a proposal. At the same time, they also hope we can make a proposal to persuade the local government to support their projects. For example, maybe the government can make the rent periods longer because they're going to invest a lot of money in this project. But But in 2004, the local government already commissioned the Tsinghua University to make a master plan for this area. So there used to be a lot of residential house in this seashore area, and the Tsinghua proposal, the Tsinhua's plan actually designed to clean all the people out and make a school. And so the desire actually have a lot of problems, because when we went there in 2016, there's not so many visitors there. Even the landscape is very beautiful, the seashore landscape is very beautiful, but it's a kind of empty space. Nobody would like to use it. So we face this kind of problem with the exit master plan, make a empty space here. So the company called me to make a proposal and trying to activate this space. So, and at the same time, the owner have an idea to set up this art district, because the art district is so popular now in China, they can get some government funding. But for my idea, it's not good to set up an art district in Yantai, because Yantai is not like Beijing. Beijing have 798 art district because they have a lot of artists resources. But in Yantai, it's totally a very bad idea. But we keep this Chinese renaming this area in Chinese still is art district, but we never name it in the English name as Huangling Panorama. So this is a project including a lot of historical building in the late Qing dynasty and the beginning of the Qing era. The first step, we need to do research. So we invite a lot of people to have a conference in 2016, including a lot of people who got involved in Dashi art, and also some people from Shenzhen Biennale. And then the first physical space we decided to do is a neighborhood library. And the neighborhood library was located in Shuotengli neighborhood. Shuotengli is the oldest area in Yantai. It has more than 600 years history, and it's not located in Guangdong area. It's not in the seashore area. Why we select neighborhood with some distance from the seashore area as our starting point? Because we really want to set a model to persuade the local government to accept our idea. At the same time, I was attracted by the Shuotengli neighborhood. It was a grassroots neighborhood. A lot of young people live there in very low cost. And I was also very interested in library. The experience when I was in the countryside, in Bishan projects, we opened a bookstore in the village. It was so popular. But when you try to organize art, especially in the countryside, the villagers didn't like it. But if you open a bookstore there, they like it very much, because they think reading is very helpful, especially for their children. So at the same time, when I was in Columbia University, I spent some time to visit some European community in 19th century, some historical sites. I visited New Harmony. I found there was a Working Man Institute. It's so interesting. So I decided to fire a neighborhood library there and commission the rector architecture to design the library. It was a northern style vernacular architecture, and Dongdong did the restoration project. So it just involved a steel corridors in the courtyard and totally activate the space. And for the seashore area, we commissioned People's Architecture Office to design a pavilion as a temporary space for the cultural activity organized. Because we really want to input some activator in the street, and then organize a lot of events to activate the space. So that is the program we organize, including a social engaged art exhibition by artist Zhang Xiao. So we work together with the local people from Shouchengli neighborhood and produce the image for them and invite them to the library. And for the People Station, the pavilion in the seashore, we organized the exhibition, exhibition by PAO. So we fill the contents in this space and invite the local people. So I really like this canopy. It's a moving public space. So I was invited to the event. So the most important institute we're going to found is the Physical Institute and Library. It was a big push group, also designed by Dongdong. But since I was this project in 2016, so far I did not know what this project is going on because for some political reason I was forced to leave this project. And okay, because we don't have too much time as a conclusion. So the porphyria is a driven forward for the Guangren projects, and Guangren projects is going to make a trace through history, religion, identity, and local DNA, and global sense of place, attachment. Matters mean local knowledge. It's so important because in Shandong, they have some very special Chinese collector. That's special use for Yantai. In other area, you don't use that Chinese collector. Like Shifu is very special Chinese collector. So through this, we try to make the place as our home, open home for everybody, for whatever local people or people from outside, including somebody like Kangaroos. So we make a lot of physical space, but place making is not about physical space. It should be use a lot of organize a lot of cultural events to activate the physical space. So that's all. Thank you.
I'm a developer. Yeah, a couple of years ago, I used to have a speech symposium like this in Hong Kong University. There were 8 of us, and I was the last one. The 7 guys before me said a lot of good things about their projects, and they said a lot of bad things about the 3D road. it's better now. So I will share some of my experience with you. The topic was 万村. In Chinese, that means 10,000 of villages. You know, as a developer, always says much bigger than the fact. Right? It says some experience in urban regeneration. Let's do a little warm up. It's a case in Shanghai. It used to be a medical industry area. We turn it into a new place. We changed the factory into some commercial. We changed different places into some modern type of activities. Yeah, let's just show some pictures about the old and new. And this one in Fuzhou, it's about. It used to be a U.S. embassy. Not that good, right? But yeah, we do it. Not in the good way, but much nicer. And this is the National Bank. To be like this. We made it as a museum to show the history of the entire area. And this is the Enlinglu. You know, the first speaker said Enlinglu was totally destroyed. But the true story was that it was 3 years ago. We did a little things about it. And yeah, this is the original view, and we turn it into a very commercial type of place. This is the corner of that street, and it became like this. It's very bad because he noticed this. He asked us to do more and more as a second phase of this kind of stupid things. So it's only a warm up. That's the main topic I want to share with you. I want to share it's an unfamiliar part of Shenzhen. You know, Shenzhen was a miracle in the last 40 years. The population transferred rapidly from 300,000 to like 20 million. But the real story is by now there are over 1,000 villages in the city. Over 10 million people living in the villages, and that was something like 60% of the population who living in the village. So everybody knows Shenzhen is like this, but Shenzhen is like this. This is Nantou Wucheng, who has over 600 years ago, 600 years history, but you know it's not old. It's not old at all. The Big Brother doesn't really like this. You know, it's unsafe, a lot of risky, and not good looking. People surfing the internet naked. Yeah, that's true Shenzhen. You need to know the other side of the great city. And the topic keep on talking on and on to keep it or not. I really had it. But finally, you know, we decided, the city decided to keep it. The government did a lot of things about the building. You know. This is 2016 and this is 2017. Just make the white into black. So that's what they did. We tried to find a business model about this. So we persuade the government to do things separately. We asked them to do the public run infrastructures, the facade, to change the public spaces by the government investment. And we tried to do some business model to rent from the property owners. We want to do the new content, new living, new commercial area, new industry, and we do the management. The government seems to like this idea, and we try to build a platform to bridge the government and the original villagers. Let me take an example about this. This is Yutian village. It's very central located. In this map I want to show it's near the Shenzhen government is near the commercial center. Also, some public spaces nearby. And this is the border of Shenzhen and Hong Kong. The village divided into 3 parts, which means they sacrifice a lot of space for the infrastructure of the city. So I have to say the villages support the city development a lot. We need to respect this. It looks like a very interesting space, not good enough, but very rare all over the world. The distance between buildings is like that, and it's like 10 and 12 stories high. A lot of people living there. In this village, there are over 10,000 people living there, but the local people is just 100. So almost everybody from different places. We tried. There are some of the strategies. We want to link everything, try to make the building as a whole. We want to make every inch of the space more valuable. We how to say minimal living and minimal use of the spaces. We link the roof not only for the social space but also for the emergency use. Let's zoom in. This is a small part of the village. We link from the ground level. We want to create a shopping street inside the dark, narrow, stupid spaces. The topic in this how to say examples, we want to make everything as small as possible, like the smallest beer bar, smallest working spaces. Because if we make it small enough, we can make the space more efficient. We can make more money from it, and that's the business model of the existing spaces. And we invite different content into their spaces. We do events to ask people to care about the space. We do bottom-up discussion to invite people living there to give us idea how to do this, what they want. We also do collective design. We invite young designers to do the design. We don't want things look like the same. We do affordable living. We link all those buildings and make the space very efficiency and the original idea, the original situation of this building is for each floor there are 4 apartments. But here we make 8 or 9. The total rental is the same for each people who live in there. But the rental for every square meters became higher and higher. That support the gap, support the business thing. And also we do the apartment like that. We link the roof, make it very interesting for the young couples. Also some little things to make it more interesting. All those roofs are totally new because we want some social activities happen on the top of the city. That's the linkage, all of the roofs. Not only this, we also provide some interesting production for the low income, like the cleanups. The key issue is try to make more beds in small spaces, but also better quality. Not only squeeze the space, but the quality need to be enough. Social space. That's the we did an experiment. We tried to use the internet to show everybody how we ran the thing. Only for 4 minutes, it's ran out, and the price is below 1,400. The price adjacent by this property. I mean the new property. It's around 100,000 RMB per square meter. So that price is more reasonable. And also we did a lot of activities. We invite the young students, the young guys to participate in these kind of things. And we do the public community center. I don't mean the design is good enough, but we transport the space into better quality, and we manage the content inside it. The building. In here I wanna share another perspective. This is the last Shenzhen and Hong Kong banana. It's about the urban village. The curator found this space. It's a factory. They turned the factory into things like that 1 year later. But in this year, it became like that because the property owner ran the whole thing to another guy, and he wanted to change the facade. Meng Yan, who is the curator of that banana, said, "We just do little things, and things will happen slowly and gradually, and the whole village will be better." And the vice mayor said, "I don't have time to wait. I have only 3 years. I need to be promoted. So anyone can do something rapidly. I will give the product to you." So we take it over. This is the whole thing. After 3 years, we will do the main structure, follow the idea from the biennial. So we do it a little bit quicker to do the main structure, to change the content, to redo the space, but we keep all the historic thing. But the main issue, when we talk to the government, I said something they didn't expect. We want to develop the whole park somewhere here. The original thing is just green, because this is a heritage. It's about 1,700 years ago. So we give them an idea, said we need to do the heritage protection. We want to do underground shopping area. We want to do underground community type of service. And here we want to do underground school. All these things need a bigger space. That development can support the whole village. And one more thing is there will be a subway pass by. So we want to make the subway all over the whole story. Why we do think? Why we come up with this idea? Because we need to make the existing space more efficiency. That's the business model. And also we need to make some extra space from it that also can support all this investment. And all those property belong to the villages and also the city government. So the rental of this space will support the sustainable development of this village. Let me make my conclusion. There are 3 points. First of all is that's China, so we need to dance with the power. All the 4 slogans are made by Chairman Xi. I don't know how to translate it, like poor English. So let's keep it like that. But the first thing is we do the government need to do everything for the people. So yeah, we believe that's true. So the second thing is we try to do everything for the people, by the people and of the people, which means we need to increase the value for the landowner and the property owners. We need to listen to them and ask them to participate in and do the content to meet their demands. And also we need to ask them to help to participate in the whole process to manage the community. In the end, yeah, that's from Google. what I mean is the nature of the company is to find the right business model, to find that right business model. If we can make money out of it, either we share with it or give it back to the community. We have to find a way to add value, not only for the developer, but also for the government and also the existing users. Otherwise, it's not economically sustainable. So every time I share our idea about the new city or the existing one, we come with the business part. Maybe that's the only value for me to be here. Thank you very much.
So there was a buzz in the room when you mentioned Doreen Massey, because she's required reading in the critical conservation program, and they all said, Doreen Massey, yes, he's right. And so we knew everything you said would be correct.
He's a ghost.
Well, that was a really fun session. It was 3 incredibly different perspectives. Scales, poetry, and filthy lucre. But it was really diverse and really fun with energy and intent and just terrific. Basic question: is your system fireproof?
Yes.
I it looked like an IKEA IKEA house and tiny houses merged together. But I did wonder, you have fireproofing on both sides of your core.
Yeah, so a lot of people, when they talk about housing, urban issues, it's within the framework of land use regulation. What you're talking about is building regulation, and anytime you're trying to innovate with things, you hit up against building regulation. And you think, there's nothing you can do about it. So we were stupid enough to really kind of go down that path and really understand what the heck is building regulation, how can you be innovative and challenge the materials that you're currently using. So I realized that there is actually a lot of experimentation and innovation around structured buildings, but very little of it ends up in the market. Here, you still only have stick frame, and that's part of why I argue that's part of why housing is so expensive. So it's fireproof, but there's a lots of complicated aspects to it, testing, certification. So I basically spent. I was here as a local fellow. I spent kind of almost a year trying to understand. I kind of had a little bit of time to understand that. But I think there's a lot of potential there to also be creative. Once that process is a little bit more transparent, I can answer this question.
What intrigued me is that most of the rehabs are dealing with big buildings that are replicable, and you figured out a model in which the non-replicable building can be rehabbed in a modern way. And that's quite extraordinary.
Yeah, I think that, so part of the issue with lowering cost is scale. You have to build a scale, you have to replicate. The problem with replication is it makes sense when you're doing the same.
Right.
So is there a way to do it so that it's not exactly, it's not exactly the same thing, but you're not so different that it's not going to end up being viable. I think fundamentally with urban regeneration, that is a key issue. Because you're dealing with something that exists. You're not working with a blank slate. So you have to deal with something that is different.
But the result is a both-and result. You get the frame of the old and interior of the new.
That's
And which is
modern is
which is a very ideal situation. You don't have to tear it down. condition.
Yeah, so that's the
I'm very interested in
that was the trick, is to see if
Yes.
that was something that people would embrace. And
But they also pop through the roof, and there's always evidence of the insertion. So that
It's a nice process.
it's another model. What we see that China is so interesting because when we hear Chinese architects and designers and students talking about historic, we realize we're hearing one thing, Western, save every detail every brick, every inch is sacred. And China sees historic as an opportunity, that isn't what they were doing, I guess, in the 50s and 60s in the huge blocks, but it doesn't also have to be perfection.
well, I don't think this represents China, actually. I think it's still, for the most part, it is not done the right way.
Well, that isn't the right, that was what I'm getting. This is what I'm-
Yeah, right, I mean,
There's the Western way, which is, the guy who made it is the artist and everybody else has to kowtow to it. But there's also the fact that life goes on and worlds change and technologies change and goals change and.
well, what I mean is, there is a lot of historic preservation, and it's done in a way where it just kills any life that was there. Yeah, so,
Does everywhere.
yeah,
This is
yeah, so
nature.
that is actually also extremely common in China.
That's what historic preservation is for, to kill.
Yeah, and it's even more of a force of gentrification, and
Yeah.
so luckily there are certain projects. Actually, what Neil presented across the street, they did that. They tore it all down. They rebuilt it as all this historic. You can look at the fabric. It's
Historic.
Yeah, and it killed it, and that's where all the Starbucks and all the stuff is.
Right.
So we were able to work on top of that, because they realized that was actually a market failure. It didn't even make them money. It cost a crazy amount of money, and it's still not sustainable. So they were forced to try something. And I think that's actually what the situation we're in currently is. They have no choice.
I'm really interested in your project where you put a library in that people wanted because it improved their life. And that is a phenomenal catalyst. That's a phenomenal cultural insertion.
Because when I had my projects in the countryside, a lot of people criticize that it's kind of a gentrification. I really don't like this. I mean, the gentrification can criticize everything. What my projects really want to meet the people's needs. So we interview a lot of elderly people, what they want. That is why we decided to build this library in the neighborhood. It's very convenient, especially for those old people. Actually the government have a lot of village reading room in the countryside. But the book is selected. It's totally bullshit. People don't like it. So what we want to do actually, we have a very carefully selection of the book to meet their needs. And when this library was a success, the first one, maybe the second, third, fifth, just like 7 now, can open neighborhood library on the street corners. And it's so easy for people to bring that to reading, to meet their friend, to have some gathering, to
Libraries are more than books.
yeah.
Libraries are social places, they're places of connectivity.
But it's also a subversive act against the government to give people the books they want
Yeah.
instead of the books that are given to them. And
In
that
the
is, yeah.
in China's situation, I don't think in the university, the library have very good shelter for intellectual, right? But for the neighborhood, for the community, that kind of reading language actually just kind of a lot of publishing house they get a lot of funding from the government publishing a lot of publish, and then they sell this book. That made no sense. because we interview, we work together with some local historians, and they suggest a list for us, and we start to go on vacation. And also we invite a lot of old people to come to tell the story, the family story, the story of the neighborhood, to share the story with everybody. So we making a place to make a physical space for meeting.
Loss,
You
loss of,
regenerate people
Yeah.
and communities.
but loss of place is a big issue because of people, there's been so much change that there's a real sense of loss and a real desire to figure out a way to connect in any way.
It's very strange in China. Most of the elderly people, they